For this assignment, we were tasked with creating a documentary. I am a huge fan of music, and I have friends who work in the industry. So to me, it was a no-brainer. Make a music documentary. I see myself as an aficionado of music documentaries, and having watched quite a number over the years, had an idea what I wanted to do. According to The Wrap, documentaries can be a social good too, deepening our understanding of the world around us. In addition, Documentary Tube says, the devil can be in the details, so along the way these questions should always be asked. Are we still pulling on the viewer? Are they still sitting in their seats, spellbound? If the questions can be answered with a yes, the documentary film is well on its way to excellence. I had to grab the audience's attention and make the documentary to the point to make the film efficient. Throughout this essay, I will be assessing this piece against these criteria. I enlisted my friend Rupert, who is a drummer working with many bands under lots of different genres. Documentary Tube states that a good documentary raises more questions than answers. I wanted the viewer to be left with questions about why Rupert lived like this, and to capture his passion for the music. I decided to shoot the film in his studio, as this was his natural habitat and a place he was comfortable, to increase the candidness of his interview. I wrote out a list of about 20 questions, as I thought the more footage the better. I had the drummer wear a blue hoodie, as it worked well with the blue wall of the room. I did this to improve the outcome of the image and create a consistent palette. At the studio, I set the tripod up in front of the drums and started the interview. I experimented with changing the shot angle and colour filter every 5 questions, but at the editing stage decided to scrap the idea because I thought the constant changing didn't look professional and made the film less effective at pulling the viewer's gaze. I planned for a heavy edit, so took lots of extra footage, and I used the rule of thirds to frame the picture in an appealing way. Stuart Dunlop asserts, live action shots are imperative to a good documentary. It shows scenes as they are actually happening in real time. These shots will serve as evidence of truth or deceit for the film's viewers. I started the documentary with footage of a camera following Rupert walking into his studio, to add a feeling of suspense and leave the viewer on the edge of their seats. I took several different shots so I could choose the optimum attempt. Documentary Tube says, film tells the truth, even though the people in documentaries do not always do so. It is not necessary that they are publicly called out during the film. Good documentaries can contrast content from many sources. The viewer serves as the juror. In well-made documentaries, the camera is the great truth teller. I took footage from inside Rupert's practice room, a room that reveals to the viewer a lot about himself, with all the flight cases, amplifiers, microphones, etc. scattered around the room. Unfortunately, I ran out of time and had to shoot some footage at my house, which does not portray who Rupert is, so I chose to discard these interviews. I decided to take some more live-action footage of him rehearsing with one of his bands to illustrate what one of his practices is like and to serve as evidence. According to Pond 5 blog, the reason these shots stick out is because they're different. They're creative. They were designed to invoke a feeling and make you remember it well after the fact. That's where creative use of camera comes in. I set up the camera on a tripod in front of Rupert playing drums and put the exposure level up because I enjoyed the effect. I did this to validate Rupert does play drums. I did a similar thing again, except I used some free cam footage of the room and the other musician he was practicing with, especially including all the foot pedals set up, which he was very proud of. I did this to tell the story of the kind of people Rupert practices with and who he is himself. Also, I wanted a POV shot from Rupert's perspective. In the editing, I decided to change the colouring of one of the shots because I liked the effect and I thought the stark contrast to the rest of the shots would stand out to the viewer. I decided that I would not use a narrated voiceover and let Rupert's answers to the interview tell the story. Alan Rosenthal expresses, "In recent years, a school of filmmakers has emerged absolutely opposed to the use of narration. This opposition stems from various beliefs, from a dogmatic assertion that it is a fascist practice, de Antonio's belief, to a feeling that pure verite has eliminated the need for commentary. I did this to get an honest picture of Rupert's life." Stuart Dunlop maintains, "The soundtrack or music is very important. It sets the tone for a good documentary. The right music must be chosen and then edited by the musical editor. This moves the documentary film one step closer to greatness." For the music, I decided to use some of Rupert playing drums, as I felt this once again demonstrate evidence to the viewer. According to PremiumBeat.com, when selecting music for your documentary film, or when having your composer create a new composition, you must be aware of mood and tone. I picked the music because I felt a recording of Rupert practicing the drums resonated with the documentary and emphasised his passion for the music. In conclusion, I thought my documentary worked well because I accomplished drawing the viewer in and showing Rupert's passion for music. I feel because my film had a lot of extra footage from some of Rupert's practices, the viewer would have been kept spellbound. I think the extra footage I took of him practicing helped to exemplify what one of his rehearsals is like. I did take a lot of footage, which I did not end up using, because I wanted the film to be concise. The soundtrack worked because it helped demonstrate to the viewer Rupert's devotion for music. I also used this to confirm to the viewer he is what he says he is. I could have bettered it by taking more film from some of his different band practices, to show how many bands he practices with, and that he plays under a lot of different genres. As I mentioned before, I am a keen watcher of music documentaries, so in future I would like to improve my skills at making documentaries, knowing what questions to ask and which footage to take to better pull the viewer's gaze.